Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas from Booster Claus to you and your viewers, Booster Therapy. I'll be very busy this Christmas, so I've decided to give the gift for your viewers early for the exotic MTG 31 Days of Christmas. I know both Brett and Patrick have been very good this year, so I've decided to give a full commander deck. But there are some conditions. Be warned, you can't open this before Christmas Day, or I'm afraid my generous Grinchy friend will spoil Christmas and steal my thunder. I have managed to contain him, along with other powerful contents, inside the commander case. You must keep this closed until Christmas, Booster Therapy. I'm trusting you, and I know you'll be tempted, but the last thing I need is to have that goblin ruin Christmas. I put my trust in you, Booster Therapy. I know you can do it. Merry Christmas! Oh, ho,
ho! Booster Claus? What is this? It's beautiful. It's shiny. I can't open this until Christmas? Why? If it's for the viewers, if it's for our loyal subscribers, why wouldn't I open this? These pack cracking hands, they just can't help themselves. I'm sure it'll be fine if we just take a peek. Just a peek. Oh. What was that? What the hell was that? Did you guys hear that? Grumgully? That's right. Welcome back to Booster Therapy, your cure for that pack cracking addiction. We have our giveaway is a part of the exotic MTG. That's right. It's me. It's Exotic MTG. Has Exotic MTG's 31 Days of Christmas giveaway. If you guys remember, we actually kicked this off last year. And we are back again with a pretty exciting giveaway. So first, I'm going to run through the Commander deck tech for our take on Grumgully the Generous. And hopefully, you're enjoying this altar. This is Miss J Altars on Instagram. You'll probably see a little, ooh, there it is, yes. That's who did this altar for us to spice up the giveaway. This is a beautiful altar done by Maria. It looks stunning. And what better way to Grumgully than with a Grinch Grumgully and talk about a commander deck tech that's all about stealing that Christmas cheer from your opponents anyway. Also, link in the description for Miss J Altars. You guys got to check out her Instagram. Her work is simply amazing. So, with this giveaway, you get the Altered Grumgully, you get this entire deck that I'm about to walk through in a Commander deck tech. You get the case it comes in, which I'm a big fan of the Ultra Pro Satin Towers. Katana sleeves, yes, that's right, red and green. It's very Christmassy, included with some dice. So the whole thing is the person who won, and that winner will be announced at the end of my deck tech. Of course it will. First, I want to say thank you, Aetherhub. Aetherhub? How do I say that word? It's Ether. Aetherhub. They did the video before us. There'll be a link in the description for their video if you wanted to check that out. And tomorrow's video, if you're following the giveaway and subscribing and loving and liking and entering, there's a link to enter in this video. It's never too late. We're giving stuff away all throughout December. And guess what? We're so lucky. We actually have support this year from things like Wizards of the Coast, Ultra Pro, and a lot of other great sponsors. So check that out. There is so much that's going to be given away. The link is in the description. This is going to be a description full of links. Please click them all. Take the time. Give some love. The other one, though, is Amy the Amazonian. Tomorrow, she'll be the one announcing the winner for her giveaway and giving away something else that is super exciting. So, without further ado, let's take a look at this Grumgully deck. And as always, we're going to start off with the lands. I'm not going to go into detail on the lands, but I think you'll enjoy the land build that you get on this one. That's right, lots of snow-covered lands. Why wouldn't I do snow-covered? It's Christmas themed, but really every solid Gruul land you'd want. The only thing that you're not going to find in there is really going to be a taiga. You want a taiga? You go buy a taiga. I understand. I do it too. So that's the lands. You'll get them. They're in here. Also in the link, or in the description, you're going to see a link to the, the deck list. I've got the deck list posted so you can kind of check out what I did with the lands and what's all in there. But first, let's talk about ramp. So with this deck, you have the Soul Ring, because what would a commander deck be without one? You've got Thran Dynamo. I'm a big fan of this. I'm even more of a fan when it's a 2-color deck. It's never going to get in the way because it's easy to get out there, but it's just an effective way of getting mana and not having to worry about the untap feature. Rampant Growth. I don't feel like enough people play this in green. Any sort of 2-mana ramp is good, and the 2-mana ramp that gets you a land rather than something as fragile as an artifact, in my mind, is always stronger. Cultivate, because it's a green deck, and green decks have Cultivate, or always should. And if you have a Cultivate, you have Kodama's Reach, because it's just doubling down on what is already known to be good and effective in your ramp game to grow, to do some of the things that this deck is going to try to do. And then Gruul Signet, mainly because I just love the artwork, and I'm all about the 2-mana ramp. 2-mana ramp is kind of that sweet spot to make sure you get going, and if you can double down on it, it just helps. So that is the ramp in this deck. It was 37 lands. I don't think I mentioned that. So 37 lands in our Grumgully deck. Grumgully. The next is going to be a bit of our card draw. The first one we're going to have is Azur's Gateway. I love this card draw. I also love the idea of flipping this to tap it for your mana total. If you can be tapping for 30 or 40 mana, there's a lot of fun things you can do. We'll talk about a couple finishers in this deck that would really help with. But in general, honestly, the draw card is really good. Next one is Return of the Wild Speaker. You get a couple functionality pieces with this. I also love that it's an instant. I don't think this is talked about enough, but draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. We're going to have a lot of beefy creatures. I mean, in all honesty, your worst case scenario should be a 3/3, and if you're paying 5 mana instant speed to draw three cards, that's still pretty good, especially if you have the additional utility that you can, +3/+3 your whole crew to smack in, or get something way bigger. Guardian Project, anything that's creature feature, you really want to have a card like this. We're not playing off a ton of tokens, so there's definitely a token strategy in here, but in general, you're casting a lot of creatures. There's a lot of creatures entering the battlefield, and with Grumgully, we're going to abuse that 1/1 counter mechanic to repeat that ETB. Beast Whisperer, because it's kind of the same as Guardian Project, arguably a little bit worse for a couple of reasons. One, it's on the cast. I prefer ETB. I think there would be a big debate there. It's also a creature. It's just a bit more fragile, but doubling down on the draw effects and giving you a nice way to dig through the deck. The next chunk we're going to go through is just a handful of those useful creatures. There's no particular order. We're just going to dive through some of the creatures I love. So Grumgully, of course, is a goblin, and these evil little Christmas goblins are going to be doing a lot of nasty stuff. So this is if our main hope doesn't play out perfectly. This is some of the stuff we can do. Pashalik Mons, whenever you're sacrificing a goblin, you can create 2 goblins. It does a damage to any target whenever a goblin dies. So we're going to be working off of a lot of death triggers with this deck, especially ones that come from goblins, and it just makes us that much more impactful. Torbran, he's not necessarily a goblin, but boy is he a Christmassy dwarf, and any source that's dealing damage, which is often going to be a red source from us, and I should have said any red source, it's just adding that additional 2, so it's helping us reach to do a little bit more damage when we're in the place to do so. Krenko, just getting big and spitting out goblins, so we have a board full of them to do lots of funny things. The other thing that's great about Grumgully is it's not a creature, it's not a non-token creature, it's a non-human creature. So even these 1/1 tokens all become 2/2 tokens with Grumgully, so he just kind of lords your goblins a little bit, which is great. Goblin Matron, so we can tutor up some of those goblins. It's just an effective little card. There's also a goblin that is going to hopefully be a little bit broken with our Grumgully utility. Evolution Sage, we're going to have 1/1 counters everywhere. Why not get a landfall trigger that gives us more and more counters? Just lets us proliferate to heaven. The Prowling Serpapard, so we can't get countered because we are a little fragile to that deep control deck, and this helps us step 1 foot in front of it a little bit to make it so all of our creature spells can't be countered. Collector Oof, this little Christmas menace is real good against any opponent that wants to tap their artifacts for good things. It can hurt us because, yeah, we have a couple of them, but generally we're going to be ramping better, and we're running some pretty efficient stuff. The Siege Gang Commander, because the idea of getting a 3/3 and 3 2/2s for 5 mana with a sack outlet that deals damage seems disgusting. So Siege Gang just works real well with Grumgully. Legion Warboss, similar to Krenko, it's just stupid good. It's spitting out a 2/2 Goblin with haste every turn, itself being a 3/3 if Grumgully is already on the board. Rampaging Ferocidon, it's going to hurt because it deals 1 damage to us every time we get a creature, but we're going to be doing so much damage and so aggressive that the whole can't gain life is going to be a deadly mechanic, and making our opponents pay for when they try to get a board state against us is really going to hurt. So just a strong card to stop that life gain. Malira Sylvok Outcast. You can't get poison counters. Creatures you control can't have -1/-1 counters placed on them. And creatures your opponents control lose infect. So it protects you from infect, but that not getting -1/-1 counters is something we're going to look to abuse. And then we have Pier, because his imagination is priceless, especially on Christmas morning. And hardened scales on a stick is never a bad thing when Grumgully is already giving you those 1/1 counters. Next, we have a few tutors. We have the Worldly Tutor, of course. Why not? We need it. It searches for creatures. That's what we're doing. Shared Summons. It lets you get a couple creatures with different names, which in Commander is pretty typical. So this is just a nice, helpful card. It's also an instant speed one as well as the Worldly Tutor. I'm a big fan of anything you can do on somebody else's turn. And then Green Sun Zenith in a pinch. When we need it on the battlefield, this will get us there. The next up is some of our removal. So the first thing we have is REB, Red Elemental Blast. I usually get a lot of criticism for playing these. I have yet to play in a game where this wouldn't have been useful, or I did use it. So countering a blue spell that's trying to get in front of us or counter one of our things, or destroying a blue permanent that's nasty, like that Rhystic Study or whatever it is. It's just a nasty little card in Commander. Beast Within, because it destroys anything, which is awesome. So yes, that Glacial Chasm that somebody's trying to get away with, this just stops that. Chaos Warp, kind of like Beast Within, getting rid of anything, mixing it up, gambling a little bit, but it's a good red instant removal card. Vandal Blast, because if you're playing red in Commander, you really should have this card. It's just really good. And then the Crowsang Grip. That way, if somebody's doing something silly with a sack outlet of their own, you can get in the way, split second, and they can't respond, which is an awesome mechanic. Split second. Wizards, if you're watching, please bring that back. I love split second. I was actually kind of hoping Modern Horizons, with as weird as it was, we'd see some of that. Lightning Greaves, let's talk about protecting your commander. Lightning Greaves is one of the best ways in Commander to protect them. It's got a 0 mana cost to equip. You're never really going to look at swinging in with Grumgully. I mean, I guess in some circumstances, maybe you get the opening to do so. But we're not looking to win with commander damage. We want to keep Grumgully safe so we can really abuse that 1/1 counter mechanic that he has for our non-human creatures. Swiftfoot Boots, it's like Lightning Greaves, just slightly worse. But doubling down on a similar type idea is really something we should be pursuing. And then Sword of Truth and Justice is one of my favorite swords. I also like the proliferate mechanic. We have 1/1 counters everywhere. And then protection from blue and white. So avoiding those paths to exile, swords to plowshares, you know, the single target removal that really can be annoying is just prevented by this in a lot of ways. Next up, we're going to talk about a bit of our recursion. There's 2 spells that I have. Regrowth, it's a lot like using your Eternal Witness. I actually think this is slightly better in my mind. I think people would disagree, and I think I could see Eternal Witness fitting in here, but I really am a big fan of Regrowth. I'm also a big fan of Reap the Past. It is random, which maybe is a little bit of a downside, but man, to be able to pay 2 and X to get all of that back and refill your hand after somebody's really set you back is crazy good. The next thing we're going to talk about is some of our sack outlets. This deck has a whole lot of them because we are going to be looking at sacrificing a specific suite of creatures to do nasty things. So the first one is a staple in any sack outlet deck, Ashnod's Altar. One of those strong cards. I love that this is the old school artwork. It's just a really good way to sack a creature, get 2 colorless mana, and use it for things that make sense. Click Slither. I like this one. This is a pet card. This, I could see people putting, Phyrexian Altar or something like that in here that would work better. But boy, the idea and the thought and the dream of doing Click Slither with tons of goblins on the board and sacking them all for one vicious trample blow is so exciting. And on top of that, he's a 4/4 for 4 if you got Grumgully out there with haste. So that's exciting too. Greater Good, because it's another good way to draw cards. It's also a very clean sack outlet, so we can not just do what we want to do, but also dig to the answers if we're in a pinch. The Thermopod, it's another way to sack a creature and get that red mana. So this was my debate. I had Click Slither and I was thinking Phyrexian Altar, but I was like, you know what, I have a Thermopod. Thermopod is, in my mind, or at least how I would use the mana, oftentimes going to be that Phyrexian Altar for us. And then the Altar of Dementia. Altar of Dementia helps you mill your opponent, and there's going to be some infinite sack combos that really help you dig deep and mill everybody and be smiling like that generous Grumgully. And the Blasting Station. So this one, with Grumgully's 1/1 counter, you're going to see shortly how this thing will consistently untap as you sack and ping players down. So if you don't want to Click Slither them, if you don't want to infinite mana them, if you don't want to infinitely deck them, why not do infinite damage with a Blasting Station? So let's talk about the creatures that help us really abuse that Grumgully combo. First one up is the Lesser Masticore. So this is a 2 colorless 2/2 that you have to discard a card when you cast it. Masticore. That means it's non-human, just so you know. And it has, most importantly, Persist. And if you don't know what Persist is, when this creature dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. So here's the thing. There's 2 ways to make this go crazy. The first one is the one that you hope for because it's flavorful and you want the Grinch on your board. If Grumgully is out there, and if you sacrifice this, it will persist and it will come to the battlefield again with a -1/-1 counter on it. But since Grumgully gives it a 1/1 counter, it actually wipes it out and negates it. They cancel each other out, so it just comes back as its whole 2/2 self again. You can sack that infinitely and rotate through that to do whatever you want with that sack outlet, as long as Grumgully is on the board and your creature has Persist. The other way is that Malira? The Sylvok Outcast? If Grumgully is somehow locked up or, imprisoned in the moon, and you can't answer it, the Sylvok Outcast does the same thing. It keeps it so we don't get the -1/-1 counters, and we can do that infinite sack ability. So we've got a couple ways to make sure the utility plays out. So let's talk about the other creatures. The Scuzzback Marauders is your goblin that you can tutor with the Matron to Persist. So this gives you 3 ways to tutor this. We have, really 4. Worldly Tutor, Shared Summons, Green Sun Zenith, or the Goblin Matron, all able to tutor up the Scuzzback Marauders. Again, non-human, Persist over and over again. Thunder Blust, similar as the rest. It's got Persist. That's why it exists, and it's real good. The Airy Oofs is also a sacrifice ability on its own, so if you need to take care of those nasty flying creatures, go for it. The Fury Stoke Giant is also crazy good because it's got additional mechanics like tapping and dealing damage, so it's probably your highest value target when it comes to your Persist creatures. Oops, and then we're on to the next part, our enchantments that give us utility. So Hardened Scales, it's like Pier, but a little bit more durable. Hardened Scales really doubles down on Grumgully's nastiness, because that boy, we know, is not generous. The next thing we got is Beastmaster's Ascension. So if people break and they see the sack outlet from 1,000,000 miles away, which is going to happen, we can still beat the crap out of them with a bunch of evil little goblins. And that is what you're going to do with Beastmaster's Ascension. So as you're casting your goblins that replicate little tokens everywhere, this can make those tokens even more deadly. Primal Order, because we're not going to play a ton. We're pretty heavy on the non-basics, and we want to punish people. Those people that have that greedy mana, we want to make sure they pay for it. Primal Order, if you don't play this is a pretty inexpensive card, actually. I would suggest buying it, especially if you're a fan of playing monocolor decks where you don't need non-basics. This can be evil. Fires of Yavimaya, because haste is important when you're trying to go wide and swing away. Rhythm of the Wild, it's the same thing, but it's like taking Fires of Yavimaya and the Prowling Serpapard and making it one card that's an enchantment and just better. Harder to remove, harder to target. It makes it so they can't counter those creatures, and you can give them haste, or you can give them more 1/1 counters. And because we want to make those people pay and Primal Order was not enough, Blood Moon. This is the Christmas moon you could hope for, we dream for, to see that distaste in your opponent's face when you Blood Moon them and you lock out every chance they had and every hope they wanted at winning this Christmas matchup. So Blood Moon, a really strong enchantment, and boy do I love playing it. The next one is Doubling Season. That's right, this deck is really quite expensive. Doubling Season is yours as well. We got 1/1 counters that we get to double. We got tokens that we want to double with our different Legion Loyalist and all those other things, or War Boss, not Loyalist. We really want to make the most out of those, and Doubling Season does that. And if it's not enough, don't worry. You have Primal Vigor, which in this case is exclusively the same as Doubling Season, because we're not really working off a Planeswalker or any other mechanic. We're just doubling everything, so giving us a double down on the Doubling Season. War's Toll is a nice way to control in red. Red and green is a combo pair. Struggle to control. There's not a lot of great cards out there. War's Toll really makes people have to be more thoughtful with their turns, at least your opponents. If they're going to tap one thing, or if they're going to do one of those things with their lands or with their creatures, they got to do it with all. The other thing that's nice is it's one-sided. It's your opponents. So it gives you the freedom of kind of doing what you need to do to win, but it really makes their choices that much more difficult. Warstorm Surge. Here is one of the ways to infinitely combo. If decking them wasn't enough, or the blasting station's not out there and you just have the Thermopod or one of those more generic sack outlets, this lets that ETB over and over and over again with your persist creature deal damage over and over and over again. So it's a way for infinite damage, and it's a little bit harder to answer. Impact Tremors, it's exactly like Warstorm Surge. It's better in my mind because we don't care what number the damage is necessarily, we just care that we're doing damage. So the other thing that's nice with this is you're going to have a lot of tokens entering the battlefield, so it's just going to play off of that as well. And if we're doubling tokens, and if we have Torbrand and 1 damage is 3 damage, this just gets out of hand fast. And why not? If those weren't enough, let's put the best version in here. Perforos, God of the Forge. Every creature, that much damage. It's indestructible. This thing is a beast on its own. Crater Hoof Behemoth. This is getting expensive, guys. Man, that person who won, I bet they can't wait to hear their name. We're almost there. Just wait. Hang on. You might be the winner. Crater Hoof Behemoth. We go wide. This gets ridiculous. Comet Storm, because if you've got the Thermopod out there and you've got infinite red mana, why not burn everybody's face off with a Comet Storm? Real nice. Captivating Crew, because what would a Grinch be without having a way to steal other people's creatures and good joy and fortune and love and happiness to just sack it to your Ashnod's altar? Well, the Captivating Crew lets you do that, and he partners well, even though he's a human, with our Grumgully. And if stealing one at a time is not enough, and you're like me, and you really want to grow with that greed, Insurrection is the final card of this deck, and the final piece to our Grumgully the Grinch deck. And this is stealing everybody's creature. This is slapping everybody with their creatures and then sack them all away so they never get them back. This is the way that we Grumgully. And without further ado, you guys want to know who the winner is of this beautiful altar, again by Miss J Altars. And this deck that I put a little bit of heart and soul in, a little bit of love, and a little bit of Christmas evilness, because bah humbug, I hate Christmas, give me Halloween every day. Nick Breton from Australia, you're a winner, buddy. This is coming your way in all of its glory. I'm going to seal it up, pack it up, make sure it's nice and safe. Again, you've got these katana sleeves. You guys shuffled these. Nothing shuffles quite like katana sleeves. These are all yours. This deck is yours. We thank you for being a part of the fun, entering the 31 days. Everybody else out there, there's so much more being given away. Make sure you check out Amy, the Amazonian's video that's coming up tomorrow with her giveaway, and more to find out with these 31 days. The last thing I'll add, if you've hung out with me for this 24 minutes and you're here for another minute, this playmat you see, this beautiful dragon, I wanted to give everybody else a shot at something else. Nick Britton, you're getting that deck and that deck box and everything beautiful about Grumgully the Grinch. But the rest of you, leave a comment on this video. This playmat, it's going to one of you. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be in Australia with Nick. You could be in England. You could be in the USA. It doesn't matter. Leave a comment on why you love this deck, why you hate me, why my voice is annoying, or why Booster Claus made a terrible mistake. And let us open up that evil little guy. Leave a comment. We're going to pick somebody at random. I'm going to send this playmat to you. These are nice, durable Booster Therapy playmats. Oh, look at that. There's Seb McKinnon. He makes an appearance in every video. This is Booster Therapy. You guys are all the greatest. Have a Merry Christmas. Thank you for everything you've done for our channel, all the love you've given us. Pat and I could not be more grateful. We love the community we're a part of, and we look forward to continuing to grow with all of you. Exotic MTG, thanks for organizing this. You're a pretty good dude. We love you. We love what you do for us. Keep going on. Keep doing what you do. We're proud to be a part of this. Until next year and until the next video and more Commander deck techs, you guys all have a lovely Christmas.